number one thing on here, and this is what got me to do this video today because it's something I do often and sometimes it pays off. Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. My name is Kevin and we're in my eBay cave here. And I was waiting, maybe I could do this video. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I had somebody ask me about it, wow, it's gotta be 2 months ago now. And they were a new reseller and they're like, hey, you know, what can I do to find more merchandise, to find better merchandise? And I gave them a pretty generic answer. But I started to think about it and I wrote a little note down and I put it over here, a little sticky note. And I told myself, hey, I'm gonna do this video. Maybe it'll be one of the first videos I do out in the Commonwealth cabin. And of course, we're not quite there yet. So I figured that I would take a minute tonight because I'm not doing any shipping tonight and I'm on 2 days shipping. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna push this back. I'm not gonna do any tonight and I'm gonna knock this video out. I've been wanting to do it for a while and I had somebody ask. Nobody's at home right now, so we're good to go. I think we're gonna knock this one out. And what I did is I created a top 5 list for resellers to new resellers to start sourcing a little bit better than they're used to sourcing, or maybe just add a little bit. Maybe you're a good sourcer already, you know what you're looking for already, and you're gonna add a few little tricks to the trade. You know, I'm a teacher, so I think that if you're going to be a reseller and you're committed to it, you should get better and better at it as the years go by. So I made a little list. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is what we'll do. I guess it's in that order, but it really doesn't matter. And this is not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. So if you have some advice or some input on the matter, go to the comments below and add to it. Maybe you're not a new reseller and you have some experience and you want to share your experience down below. So at any rate, we're gonna start at 5 and we're gonna go and work our way up. So here we go. All right, the first one is a little bit generic, and if you're doing this right now, you're already doing it. You know, watch YouTube. I tell my history students at school, and I'm trying to put myself out of a job here, I guess. I'm like, you know, if you had the desire to learn history, you could learn more history in a week than you would be forced to learn in like 2 months at school. If you have the desire to learn something, the resources are out there. You're watching a resource right now. YouTube is amazing. Now, I learned a lot long before YouTube resellers were a thing, and some of the very first one, and I watched, you know, I watched Craigslist Hunter, and I watched Heart Pickers, and there was 4 or 5 back then, and then there was a few more, and I've watched them as well, and they have helped me grow little by little. And I still watch other YouTubers. I watch other resellers. I go with my uncle and he's taught me a few things, even though I've been doing it longer. I'll go with different people and they'll see things differently. My wife's only been out garage sailing with me, you know, 4 times, but I've learned from her. I've learned quite a few things from her, actually. Popples are one of them, you know. She's like, you got to start looking for those vintage plush. And I had found some vintage plush before, but I had never purposely gone and dug through and looked for things. And we've made a bunch of money off of it in the last couple of years. And she learned that from thrifting. So go out there and watch some YouTubers. You probably already do. You know, I have an interesting kind of eclectic little mix of what I sell, and I don't even suggest that you sell a lot of it. It has to do with the region that I live in, you know. And there are some really good resellers out there who live in different places and there's different things that they find. You know, there's the big guys out there that I learned from a ton. I love watching Matt Part-Time Pickers and all the new old stock stuff he gets. You know, obviously John and Lonnie and all the big guys out there are terrific. But I'll go and I'll watch some other folks as well that are a little bit outside of the reselling genre like this because I want to learn. Thrifting 101, Michelle over there, she does plates and dishes and all kinds of ceramics and all kinds of different stuff that she does. And I've learned from her because those are items I didn't used to sell. And if you remember that I got that one Pyrex set, the one Pyrex set of bowls, and I think I said in the video, I wish I had her with me. I did it in one video because she knows so much. Those aren't the typical items I like to sell because they're a pain in the butt to ship, to be honest with you. But I want to know the best stuff out there so I don't miss it when I see it. Definitely watch a bunch of resellers. I'll put a bunch below that I'm not going to put the big guys out there because you already watch them, I'm sure, if you're watching me. There are a few that have different genres. You know, I mentioned Ronnie Hart at Hart Pickers, and he does clothing. So if you want to learn clothing, go there. If you want to learn, you know, video games, go here. If you want to go antique stuff, go here. And so I'll put a few of those down below that I watch. It's not going to be an exhaustive list, but find the niche that you want to improve in and go watch their videos. They'll teach you. Second thing I would say is network with other resellers in your area. That's a difficult thing to do, and a lot of them won't want to do it, but some of them do. And so I know, if you watch my garage sale videos, I know a ton of those guys. There's a few of them who don't want to talk to me, who, you know, they view me as the enemy, and that's okay, but a lot of them don't, and they will become friendly with you, and they will teach you things that you can learn from them, and you can teach them things. And I've found that I have people calling me and telling me, hey, there's this sale over here, there's this sale over there. There's one guy that calls me and says, are you going to this sale? Because if you are, I'm going to this sale. And he's not doing it to be mean. He's just saying it's going to be better for both of us if we're in different places, which I think that's great. I often talk about Brandon on this show. I call him the Master Picker, and he did a jewelry video with us early on. Maybe I'll link it here if I can remember, on the Commonwealth Picker channel. And he has taught me a lot. And I like to think, watching some of my videos, I've taught him a few things, although what I've probably taught him is to not buy ashtrays. He is a great guy and a great picker, and he calls me up and we talk every once in a while. We can kind of collaborate if need be. I have a list of maybe 8 or 10 people around here that do picking, and a lot of times they'll call me if there's items that they think I want, and then I'll call them. You'll see me talking to somebody I call Play It Again Rick, and I'll talk to Play It Again Rick, and I'll say, hey, you know, I saw this stuff over at this garage sale. I've called him when I was out and about and said, hey, this is over here. Come on over here. It's something you might want. It's not what I typically do. Now, a lot of times I'll pick up some of the stuff that he would pick up if it matches what I do. But a lot of times I'll pass it on to him, and he's done the same to me. So network with other resellers, whether that's, you know, in a statewide deal or maybe regionally or maybe just locally. I think it's a good practice to have. They can scratch your back and you can scratch theirs when the opportunity arises. And yeah, you're going to compete a little bit. And I'm in there and I'll see a guy pick something up at a sale. I'm like, oh, man, I missed that. But that's okay, because there's going to be 50 things. Sourcing is not a problem for me. Not at all. We've got way too much for a one-man show. Well, one-man show and a bunch of help from my family. Number 3, and this is something I learned quite a while ago, and I really, really love it, and I still do it, is even if I'm out looking for some, let's take some category. Let's take VHS, for instance. VHS is a bad category for eBay, but there are some VHS that sell. And so what you do, instead of going out and looking up one VHS, oh, I gotta look up VHS, oh, that one doesn't sell, so I'm not gonna sell VHS. Okay, don't sell that VHS. Go home, and when you have a few minutes, just type in VHS into eBay and look it up in reverse. So what do I mean by that? Well, you go to completed listings, sold, and then go to highest priced first. Then you've got the list of the best VHS items. Now, I'm telling you that as an example, and that's probably a bad example, because what you'll find is a bunch of bogus listings, Disney Black Diamond and stuff like that. You got to kind of scroll through those. But take any category, you know, vintage polo, I've talked about that before, and look it up in reverse. Go to completed listings, sold listings, and go to highest price plus shipping first, and you'll see the very best. If you see the very best with your own eyes, you just almost automatically spot it when you're out and about sourcing. And that is a great tip. That is something, I probably should make that my number 1. But you know, crazy stuff. Just type in a brand name. Type in Rubbermaid and do that. And you'll be like, what? How could this sink strainer possibly sell for, you know, $100 or whatever? I've talked about it with Krylon cans. Go type in Krylon paint vintage and look it up in reverse, and you'll look and you'll be like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe that thing could possibly sell for $200. Now, not all of them do. This doesn't. I've had this forever, but I kind of keep it as an example. But this is high gloss varnish, but certain colors in vintage Krylon sell for a ton of money. I guess it's all those old school taggers out there. They got to have it. So you would be amazed. Just type in, workout equipment or all kinds of, whatever genre it is. Just pick one. Coffee mugs. Type it in reverse. You'll probably find the Death Wish coffee mug that we sold in here. So you just never know. Give that a shot tonight. Just pick something random and do that, and you would be amazed. All right, here's one. Here's your homework since I'm a teacher. Type in, cassettes, vintage audio cassettes, and see which ones are the best. And tell me what you find, by the way. Put it in the comments. Maybe I can learn something. All right, number 2 is ask questions. So when you're out and about, no matter where you're at, ask questions. You look at a terrible yard sale, and as you're ready to get back in your car, you say, hey, do you have any DVD VCR combos? Do you have any, the common question, do you have any video games or video game systems? Ask questions, and you would be amazed. It doesn't happen often. Do you have any old jewelry? But every once in a while it works. So I would say every summer, and I ask it often, every summer I'll get 5 or 6 people over the course of a summer that say, hey, yeah, sure I do. And they go and get it and bring it out. One of my best buys ever was because of that. And I was the first one at a garage sale. And this lady said, or I asked the lady, I said, hey, you have any video game stuff? And she said, well, my son does downstairs, but I'm not sure he wants to sell it. And she got on the phone and called him, and he's like, sure, get rid of it. He didn't even live there anymore. It was his stuff from probably, 10 years ago. As I'm waiting for her to bring it out, there's other people, and she brought a giant tub out. And I'm looking behind me going, oh my gosh. And this was great. This is PS1 stuff, but it wasn't, run-of-the-mill PS1 stuff. It was the best of the best PS1 stuff. And I'm like, how much you want for the whole thing? She's like, how about $50? And the people behind me are like, no, I'll give you this. And she's like, no, I told him $50. And I'm like, here's your $50. And people were offering me $250 for it as I walked out. I mean, there were hundreds, and they looked in great shape. I probably made $2,000 off of that one bucket. Now, it took a ton of work. We did a lot of individual listings, but some of those games were going for $50 a pop. And they, like I said, they're the best of the best, which, by the way, reminds me, maybe you should do that reverse lookup with some vintage PS1, because normally you're like, PS1 or PS2, no good. Not true. There are some good ones in there. Which reminds me, if you want to learn some video games, Shad Juice is a good one for that too. My number one thing on here, and this is what got me to do this video today, because it's something I do often, and sometimes it pays off, and that's what I have behind me here. So in just a second, I'll pull this down, and I'm going to go through it. I probably won't go through it here on camera, but I had 2 incidences in the last few days where I just put out there what I do, and I was rewarded for it. I have 2 business cards. This is my YouTube one, that I put in my little packages when I send out. It doesn't have my phone number or anything on it, anything personal like that. But I have another one too that I have with me in case I'm out and about, and I just say, hey, give me a call. I'm at a garage sale, and I'll say, hey, give me a call if you don't sell this stuff, because, the price isn't right for me now, but if you drop the price because you haven't sold it and you're going to take it to the Goodwill or something, call me up and I'll buy it all. It won't be for as much, but I'll buy it all. I'll also give a card out to some resellers sometimes. And that's how I begin to start a relationship with some resellers. But most importantly, it's people that aren't resellers that I'll give my information to. Somebody at school. And when people learn what I do, they'll come to me. And I have, in the last maybe, let's say year, I've had probably a dozen people literally give me things to sell. Almost always, just take it, do whatever you got to do with it, because what are they going to do with it? If you're not a reseller, is it worth your time to sign up and learn the platform and learn everything to sell 3 items? It just isn't. They'd rather give it to you. Some might want to consign it, and then you can make a decision, but some are just going to give it to you. So I had a gentleman who I knew, who knew what I did, and I told him what I did, and I said, hey, it was a student that went to Liberty University. And I said, hey, do you have any gear? I'll buy it off of you. And he's like, oh, you don't have to buy it off of me. Here, I'll just give it to you. And he brought it all in. This is all his excess gear. Obviously, he's a cheerleader. I mean, it's a beautiful Nike bag. I'm going to probably buy this guy lunch sometime or dinner or something for his kindness. But he's like, here, take it. I had another person come by my room with some used car parts, but they were labeled perfect, working, and like, here you go. And I'm like, thanks, this is great. And none of that would have ever happened if I wasn't willing to tell people what I did. So this thing is full of Liberty gear. I haven't even opened it up yet. But the bag itself is going to sell for really good money. So I know there's probably at least over $100 in profit in here. And I got it for free just because I tell people what I do. One last story about that. I was at a baseball practice today, and one of the coaches there is like, hey, I have this. Is this something you'd be interested in? And it was a guitar here, a guitar. I'm like, sure, I'll take it. No problem. Are you sure you want to give it to me? I offer money or whatever. Like, no, what am I going to do with it? And they're bringing it in tomorrow. So I'm like, hey, that's great. I'll take it and I'll sell it. So that's a little bit of advice. Now, this isn't a perfect list, but that's just 5 quick things, and I wrote them down over time, and I think it's a pretty good list. If you are a new reseller looking to source more, use your mouth a little bit, talk a little bit, and I think it'll open up some avenues for you. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.